Welcome.
This is the first time that anybody did warm-up. I haven't met our guest yet, but he was doing his warm-up exercises, and you were doing your warm-up.
That's because...
Do you remember Ron Richards before he went on? He'd be running around like that.
Because a lot of comedians are trained in theater.
No, he had cerebral palsy.
All right. All right.
No, he really did. Used to jump around like that to loosen up.
I do remember Ron Richards. He's a terrific
He's a
comedian.
comic that we used to know 40 years ago. It's very important for the show.
All right. Let's get started. What do you say?
I'm waiting for you.
Welcome to Stand Up Memories. I'm Peter Bales. That's Jackie, the joke man, Martling, and our guest, trained in classical theater, but also, most importantly, a stand-up comedian.
I did not know you were trained in classical theater.
I'm not.
No wonder you're with the me, and all that horse crap.
No, he's not trained in classical theater. Actually,
our guest... what I do to warm up? I look down to make sure I don't have any pee stains on my pants. That's my warm up.
We got to... kind of...
You notice you never saw them.
No, that's your warm up every day when you get ready to go out.
It's my warm up before I just came in here.
All right. Now...
That's why I was changing my pants. That's why
Stand Up Memories. And our guest is Eric Haft. Mr. Eric Haft, a terrific...
Now how are we spelling that?
H-A-F-T.
So simple.
Haft.
Welcome, Eric. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And Eric is actually trained as a drummer. Before he was a comedian, he was a drummer. Would you say jazz is your genre for drumming, or any kind of music?
I went to school for you learn everything. Come on,
yeah. But you had no intention of
studio music, jazz.
But no, you were never a musician, just a drummer.
Oh, he's that's
you gotta make that joke.
That's not
you
fair.
have to. Do you know that joke? It's the greatest joke.
Give me a couple of drummer jokes.
The two settlers are walking along in the canyon, and all of a sudden they hear bum, 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 bum. And the first settler says to the second settler, I don't like the sound of those drums. And from up on the ridge, somebody else, he's not our regular drummer. Now, see, I don't tell jokes on the show, but it's a drummer joke, and he's a drummer.
I love your jokes.
Oh, shut up.
Welcome. Thank you.
That's a great.
Haft.
Eric Haft.
Is that German?
It's actually Russian. It's really Gaft with a G. And there's a famous Russian actor. His name is Valentin Gaft. And we found this out years later. And he's like the Robert Redford of Russia. Go figure.
Oh.
And why'd you take the G away from your name?
Well, it wasn't
You don't want to get confused with him, right?
Yeah, we don't want to. No, I don't know. Somehow they made it more American by putting the H.
Well,
it does sound German.
They didn't make it a lot more American by putting the H there.
Haft. It sounds...
H-A-L-F.
No, Haft.
No, but that would make it American.
Half.
Half. Or full, F-U-L-L, even more. I'm just being an idiot waiting for you to talk.
All right, let me pick it up here. We're talking to a great comedian, folks, Eric...
No, we're talking to Eric.
Haft, who is one of my favorite comedians because he's so high energy and he does...
Everybody that has sat in their chair, he said the exact same thing. If we had Aunt Jemima there, he'd say this is one of my favorites.
One of his favorites.
Okay. Eric is one of my personal favorite comedians. High energy, does characters, does all kinds of different styles of stand-up.
Classically trained actor?
Well, I exaggerated that. But he is a trained drummer who is now a stand-up comedian. Do you know how he started, Jackie? Do you know how Eric started?
He used sticks.
No, that's his drumming. Do you know how he started in stand-up comedy? Do you have any idea how Eric started in stand-up comedy?
Wait.
What made it possible for Eric to start in stand-up?
At what point? Was this in grammar school, high school, college?
After. Many years later.
After. He needed a place.
You got out of a speeding ticket by making the cop laugh.
Correct.
No, he needed a class. He needed a place to go and learn the basics of stand-up comedy and perform his first set. And where would he go?
Mike, would you hand me a knife? Because I need to put it in my head.
Oh, just get to it. Stand Up University.
Stand Up University.
Does his plug.
Stand Up University.
Too late, Mike.
StandUpUniversity.com.
Yes, my professor, Dr. Bales.
Thank you very much.
Put me on stage and said, I don't know what to do with you. I have no idea.
Which is exactly what they said to him, so he started at college.
But actually, you do things a lot of comedians can't do, and I can't do, and you do it naturally, which is characters and voices, and you're great at improvising on stage. And how long have you been doing it?
This will be 14 years.
14 years
in July.
is not that long
I
in the
started late.
overall.
You know, it's crazy. It is so crazy to hear 14 years is not that long, but it's not.
It's not.
Not when it's coming from two guys that have been doing it for 90 years.
Combined,
But
at least, yeah.
That actually isn't that long in the stupid
No,
scheme of things.
It isn't.
You're a baby.
Jesus.
I didn't even call myself a comedian for like 2 years because too much respect for real comedians.
You know,
Oh, well.
to this day, if somebody says, "What do you do?" If I say comic, I'm waiting for somebody to tap me on the shoulder. No, you're not. Don't say that. You know. So
Yeah.
it's an insecurity. But you know, he is obviously multi-talented because I was sitting there sipping the worst coffee in the history of mankind, and all of a sudden, Patti LuPone came in and started singing, and it was him.
Well, that's
Singing,
how
Wake
amazing.
Up Peru or whatever that song is.
Yes, don't cry
Wake
for
Up
me.
Peru.
Wake up Peru. Yes.
Yes, that's
The
close. to
famous Patti LuPone aria.
Clearly, a Latin American expert here, Jackie the Joke Man. Wake Up Peru.
Wake Up Peru.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, you work at clubs, you travel.
I do.
Are you a Long Island guy?
He's
Yes, I live in Northport.
He's
North
a
Shore.
North
North
Shore,
Shore.
like us. Little snobby element there.
I'm very close to Peter. We're neighbors practically.
We are. We're neighbors.
So now you're bringing in people from your school and from your neighborhood.
I'm bringing in-
When's your brother coming on?
I'd love to get my brother on. He's got plenty of
I'd
time.
like to get a hold of your brother.
Oh, man. So listen, Eric, I want you
to
to, we have a lot of people who are thinking about starting in stand-up comedy. We have a lot of new comedians who watch the show. What's been the toughest for you in starting in stand-up comedy, and what do you enjoy the most?
The toughest is getting stage time when you're young.
Yeah.
You know, when you start out, you can't get.
Now, if you
nobody puts
started
you on stage.
14 years ago, had they already started when I first heard about this, my head exploded. A show where if you bring 10
Bringer
people,
shows. Bringers, right?
the first time I heard that expression, I said, tell me it's not what I think. Were they already doing that 14 years
They
ago?
were doing it. I didn't know. I got sucked in a couple of times. You got to be careful. The other day I got it. You know, I'm doing it 14 years. You think you got somewhere, and I get the private message on, hey, we would love to have you in Teaneck, New Jersey. You just have to bring 4 people, and you get 12 minutes. And I said, man, I said, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be a jerk, but I don't do that anymore.
You know.
But I was smart. I didn't do too much. I got sucked in a
Right.
couple of times,
Right.
and then I started to just kind of create my own shows because no one else would give me stage time. So I said, you know what? I'll do it at a wine bar. Remember?
Yeah.
We had a wine bar I used to perform at. Anywhere where there were real people who would give you an honest laugh.
They say bring 10 people. The idea is to go up there and do stuff for strangers.
That's
not
it.
bring your 10 friends that either are going to laugh at everything or not laugh at anything.
100%, exactly.
You know, and what you're talking about is what it was like in 1979, way back. That's when we kind of met because I was booking
Yeah.
shows. We were booking a show in Huntington, but I was booking shows all over Long Island with my amplifier and a speaker and get the money from the club owner.
it. Yeah.
You know, it was so new.
I was
Now it's
lucky
back to
these-
that. You find a place. It's back to where every little restaurant there's a comedy show, which is good. You know, there's plenty of stage time.
It's great. It's great. But I also had these guys, believe it or not. You know, I guess, look, I had some things going for me. When you're a musician, there's timing. You're a drummer. A lot of drummers became, you know,
And
comedians.
you used to being on stage.
Yeah, you know, Johnny Carson was a drummer. Charlie Callis was a drummer. Jerry Lewis was a drummer. You know, there's something about
Yeah,
the
the-
timing aspect. And
True.
like you said, being comfortable just standing there.
Yeah.
I just read somebody. Oh, you know who was a drummer? Sam Shepard.
Sam Shepard was
I mean,
a drummer.
you know, it's so crazy when you read things like that. But you know, you
it
read that
helps.
people were around for 8 years in Hollywood, but everything ain't. Oh, that ain't that long. If you're sitting around Hollywood waiting for that phone call, you know, that's a long time to be feeding yourself. You know.
It's tough, man.
But you're right. That's great. 'Cause you used to being on stage. You get very used to the fact you can't depend on other people. You know, all those things. You know.
That's it. And you show up on time because as a drummer, you're always early.
Right.
So
Right.
you're there, you know. But yeah, these guys got me on stage. That was the catalyst. That first time you get the laugh and you get that response. There's the
hook.
drug. There's the
hook.
drug.
Now,
There's the drug.
So that's
had
the
you
best.
tried stand up before you?
Never. That was it.
You did it at his.
I was always funny, you know. I always had characters that I did. I used to.
But you didn't actually do it on stage,
Never.
so you went to Bales's.
That's right.
It was the
University.
only way. Yeah, it got me on stage, and it was a dream, you know, in my mind, because I always watched comics. I watched you. I had seen Peter. Didn't know who he was back then, but I used to go to East Side Comedy every Sunday night and watch. You know, what was his name?
Bob Nelson.
Bob Nelson every Sunday had a show, and I would just go, "Oh my God, look at this guy."
I'll never forget the first time I saw Peter's act. Right? How could I? Just saw it again Saturday night.
He's just jealous.
Just jealous.
Because those Jimmy Carter jokes work every time.
Meanwhile, I'm up there doing jokes for my first album, 1979. You know, who cares?
So,
But that's great. So he actually. Now, did you take his course once?
Just once.
We have people come in here and say I took it 9 times. I'm
Wow.
like, you know.
Yeah, Chris
Yeah.
Roach.
It's
I
like
think,
they're
gave
on
it
the
to
roller
me.
coaster. Give me another ride. You know.
Well, here's
Yeah.
the thing. I didn't, you know, these guys taught me how to write a joke, but I didn't write jokes. I didn't have it in me to. I wasn't the guy who went ba 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 ba. You know.
Right.
It was like I had characters. I had things in my head, ideas, and I wanted. You know, I went up. My first bit was a waiter that I saw at a restaurant. I used to go to an Italian restaurant in Port Washington, and I loved this waiter. So I used to walk up to random tables at a restaurant and pretend I was the waiter. And people thought I was the guy, and I knew all the specials.
He does this waiter. We've all seen this waiter.
So many like New York waiters that just have more character than so many.
It was great.
So, and this is at what? It's at an Italian restaurant.
Yeah, it's a great place up in Port Washington.
Let's see this waiter, and everybody watching you. We've seen this waiter before, and Eric taps into it. And this waiter at an Italian restaurant.
They
he
would
comes
give you
over.
the menu, and it was so annoying because you wanted to order, and it was like, "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Beautiful tarfish marchiata over a squid linguine alla genovese, livornese, touch of mayonnaise, stuff of the baby," and they would go on and on.
He's
and
so caught up in his
Oh, my
own
God.
thing.
Right? And you're just sitting there going, "Where's the menu? What's like? I don't, you know."
I already forgot what I was going to
It was
order.
just and they go on at the end, of course, the punchline. My wife says, "Can you repeat that?"
Right.
So it was this guy, and I said, "Peter, how do I make this funny?" You know, and you would sit there and say, "Okay, well, we're going to work with this."
And everybody has sat through that thing. And you know, and all the waiters and waitresses, the young ones, they're all actors or actresses or wannabes. So repeating the day's specials is like that's the first gig they've had in months.
How was
like,
that?
how
Can
do
I
you
do it
remember?
that-
How do you remember all that? What they've been studying it for 2 days. It's like they get to be on. Would
They
you
know
like
their
the other
lines.
specials?
It's
If you
great.
say no, they go slice their wrists. You know. God.
So that was how
That's
I
very
started.
funny.
Yeah, it was silly stuff.
Now that was a Russian accent.
Gaft. My name is Gaft. Yeah, so that's how it started, and then you build on it like everything else, and then you
And the
write
more you
references.
do it, the funnier it gets. You know?
Yeah, that started as this little chunk, you know, and then you have to figure it out. But obviously, you get your kids involved and your wife's involved in your act, and we all do it. But it takes guts. I didn't have
Some comedians that I come into contact with, new comedians in the class, I can't do that bit about my wife. She'll kill me. I can't. My daughter's going to be at the show. I can't say that about my daughter. Well, you can, and it's actually, I think, flattering to them when you.
My daughter was at my show this past Saturday night.
Okay,
And she sat in the front row with her best friend, and there I am making fun of her.
That's great.
did she like it?
She loved it. Because she talks like a,
Yeah,
I say
he's
my
got
kids-
2 daughters that are just.
You haven't said 16 or 26.
Well, she's 19. And I said, I don't understand my own children. It's like a gurgling stomach when you ever said, I was talking to my friend, I was like, my God, and I was like, my God, and she's like, oh my God, what? I was talking to my friend, I was like, oh my God, are you speaking a language?
And meanwhile, she's got a friend there who understands every word, right?
That's exactly it. And they're having a conversation, and it's like, what's going on here? So I make fun of them. And,
that's so funny.
It's just the 2
Well, that's it. Well, you
daughters.
have 2 daughters. That the one that was just the older one, right?
No,
Or is
that's
that
the younger.
the
other
younger one.
My older one whispers. She thinks she's talking. Very. I know. Like, I'm like, oh, they're having a conversation together. I'm like, oh, yeah. It's just like, I'm like, what is happening?
We need 10 minutes at that dinner table.
Oh man! Oh, that
So
is
are
so
they? Do
funny.
they have the bug?
It's
are
real.
Are they singers or actresses?
No,
Or?
quiet. They don't want to, don't put the light on me. None of my kids.
Well,
have that
one of
in
your
them.
daughters wants to be a teacher.
Oh,
which
the
is
teacher,
how
right.
is that going to work out if she's a teacher?
It's
Right.
the same thing.
She'll need a translation box around her neck. Good morning, everybody. Good
Oh,
morning.
that's just great.
My name is Mrs. Haft. These kids are going to come home from school. Parents will be like, "Honey, how was school today?" Oh my God! I was like, "Rise."
Pat Cooper's family told him, "You're not funny. You'll never do anything. You're not funny. You're a piece of trash. You'll never do anything." And then he got famous, and his own family tried to sue him because he was talking about them in his act.
Is that true?
That is an
I've
absolute,
heard that
is a-
before.
absolute truth.
They didn't
That
win.
is not one of those rumors. I mean,
No,
you know.
they didn't win. There's no way.
I have no idea. I don't know if he paid him more. Who knows? But it's just like, they said, "You're no good. You're no good. You're no good. You're on TV." Shekels. So
That's
funny.
it. But my family is, they've given me a lot of material. My mom, living, 82-year-old mother. It's easy.
From Northport, always.
No, Hauppauge. I grew up out east.
Sorry.
Yeah, a Jew in Hauppauge. Nothing better than that.
Wow.
The only Jew in Hauppauge.
Wow.
It's like, what?
Your mother's in Florida now, right?
Yeah.
As you
they
say,
live
it's
down
the
south.
law.
That's the
It's
rule.
the
That's
law.
you have to be down there.
And the typical, buying her stuff that, we try and keep her up to date with technology, and she doesn't
Oh,
understand. It's horrible.
that's chasing your tail.
I don't know the Wi-Fi. I'm not on the Wi-Fi. I'm not disconnected. She's horrible with, you can't give old people technology. It's not good.
You're talking to me, I
you
spend
get-
half of every phone call listening to somebody laugh that I'm still on AOL. Calm down, calm down.
Come on, Jackie.
It moves fast, man.
It's too fast, and it's not
You know,
good
this
for old
artificial
people.
intelligence. This isn't even Bales. This is
an Android.
an avatar,
Now,
an
Well,
Instagram.
am I wrong? I'm on MySpace. Is that bad? Is that bad? But I never encouraged my sons to go into stand-up comedy because starting out is so tough, and I wouldn't want that for them. Now, do you? You never encouraged. You have 2 daughters and a son.
Yeah, I think I grew up in
You
a
never,
family.
How
you
old
never
is your son?
discouraged them.
My son's now 23.
So he's the oldest.
Yeah, he's actually the middle. He's the middle. 26 is the oldest.
Oh, but
Yep.
he no desire to.
Nothing. No, he's cybersecurity. He's graduating next week.
Cybersecurity.
No, you know what it is? I grew up in a house with musicians. My father played clarinet. My grandfather was a violinist. My brother's a great pianist, singer. He went to school for music. I went to school for music. Every weekend was like you couldn't do anything but perform. So in the living room, you had drums, you had your piano, and you put on a show for.
And as far
20
as you
people.
know, that's what it was like in
That was
everybody's
it.
household.
That's it.
Just
I had to perform. Eric, my mother, get your stuff and set your drums up in the living room. It wasn't even a question that we were going to put on a show. That was it. So since I'm 8 years old, that's what I did. I started playing music professionally at 13. I was playing at weddings. My brother was 17. His piano teacher
Like with
got
one
us
of the
gigs.
wedding bands, and
Yeah, I was playing with Nobleman Orchestras, they're defunct, but they were like one of the
I
largest.
remember that name.
Yeah, those guys, at 13, 14, I was playing, my brother was 18, and his piano teacher got us a gig, and we knew all the new music, and they played all the old stuff. So
My family was so different. Every weekend we would get together in the living room and discuss the causes of World War I. So different.
We
So
used to sit
different.
around the living room and discuss why my father was nodding out.
But
No.
were you the only musician in your family? Or?
I was not a musician. In 7th grade, a guy I'd gone to kindergarten with, I noticed that he played guitar, and I don't even know how I knew, but I'm thinking, I'm a little short guy, wise guy, a little skinny piece of trash, and wow, what a great way to meet girls, which is exactly what went through every musician's head ever.
That's right.
But I never grew up thinking I'd like to do that. And the guy that taught me to play guitar was still my best friend 75 years later. He went to Sunday school, and a girl in his Sunday school class said, "Wow, that guy Ricky Nelson is so cool. He sings and plays guitar," because Ricky Nelson used to sing and
Yep.
play at the end of the Ozzie and Harriet show. And my friend Chris Bates loved this little girl. He was a little kid. He's like in 6th grade. Went out, got a guitar, got lessons. The girl never came back to the Sunday school class. He never saw her again. And here he is, saddled with the guitar thing. And so he taught me guitar, but there was never any I want to be a musician. It was I want to meet chicks.
That's it.
You know what I mean?
A lot of guys got into music for that reason.
You got into music to meet chicks?
Billy Joel said what everybody else has always said, but it's funny when you're just like 99% of the guys that play guitar took up guitar to meet chicks, and the other 1% are lying. So, you know, that's just how it is, you know.
But it ties right in. Music, it's all the same, you know? Music, comedy, it's exactly the same business. It's just as sleazy at some levels, you know, where you're doing that, you know, and you got to go through the kitchen as a musician, and you know, you deal with all the same nonsense.
And it's the same for everybody.
We're easier because we don't have the equipment, and it's usually just one comedian, you know? We need a mic. That's it.
That was the beauty of it, by the way, from being stuck behind the drums, this is my life, you know? You have drums in front, you're hiding. The first time I got to be the guy in the front was like, I'm the lead singer now, right?
It's like intimidating, but wonderful.
Oh my God.
The whole first year I was a comic. I had gone from playing the guitar and singing in my band, but then I was playing by myself. And I met the guys, so the other comics used to come to where I was playing, because it was just me and my guitar and a microphone and a crowd. So they got 5 minutes or 10 minutes, so they loved it. But the whole first year I was in comedy, I never went on stage without my guitar. And then the East Side Comedy Club opened up, and they said, all right, we're all going to get a chance to introduce and MC the show for Jackie Mason. So I went up and I did my 10 minutes with my guitar and the whole thing, and then put it in the stand, and we came down. And then I had to get up to introduce the next comedian. I said, well, that's pretty stupid to run up there and put on my guitar to say, here's Eric. So I went up and didn't put on the guitar, and I stood behind the mic, and I was like, wow. It was like somebody took the shackles off. Like, well, you can move, you can talk, you know. As stupid as that sounds,
no, it's real.
Never dawned on me.
But you had, when you started, you had the guitar on all the time.
And had the ponytail. I had so many strikes against me, it was ridiculous, you know. That's fun. You know?
Oh man! But you do characters, you sing, you do impressions.
Well, I used to do impressions, but a wise comedian told me, Eric, unless you're going to be as good as some of these great guys that do the voice, you know, the
you don't want people going on. Not
unless you're that good, unless you're Rich Little or you know, Rob Magnani or any of these guys. He goes, don't do impressions, because he said when they think about you, they're going to go, oh yeah, Eric Haft. He does impressions. They won't say, oh, Eric Haft, he's a great comedian.
And they won't remember what ones you do.
That's it.
You know.
And as soon as they said that to me, I was done.
An impression is when you do a famous person. A character is when you do somebody that you know. The audience can't tell whether it's real or not.
That's
the waiter was an original character. You know, my parents.
What is your dad? Your dad was a big, solid kind of macho guy.
Yeah. Is this the Russian?
No, he's not Russian. Like, you know, he's born. They're all American. Their parents are Russian.
So, but his father retires to Florida, and he's not this. It's just not.
He's like turned into a wimpy guy. So I'll throw in something like, you know, I'm like, my mother's like the Wicked Witch, and I do her, you know, who ate my yogurt? Was it you? You know, that kind of thing. Right. And my father, the big wimp, is, oh boy, I did it again. That kind of thing. Why did I do it?
With these big monsters, you were probably petrified. He was like
this tough guy, and
you
now
were petrified of him when you were a kid, right?
A wimp, this guy. What happened?
It's like years later when they bring these Nazi criminals that are like 95 years old that killed 300,000 people, but they're these little shriveled up men. They leave him alone. He's harmless, you know.
Yeah, he's harmless, all right.
He's harmless.
Oh man, we barely scratched the surface as usual.
That's it.
This is Eric Haft. A terrific.
Are you telling me we're done with him?
And
I didn't have to sit. We didn't get to see one of his impressions.
Well, thank God. He worked them in. Well, see, that's how skillful we were working those in.
Unbelievable. Don't stand by me, senorita. How's it go?
He was singing from Evita. He can sing.
I can.
I know.
You can sing.
I heard him. I thought he was Patty LaFond.
Eric, we got to have you back on. We barely scratched the surface with you. You have such
Thank you for having me.
Fascinating life. Let's plug Haft to Laughed production.
No, not production. It's halftolaugh.com is my website.
Okay.
Just
now
hire me as a comedian.
That is an excellent name.
Haft to Laugh.
Haft to Laugh.
Yes.
to hire him as a comedian, and you should, because he's terrific. I vouch for
You
him.
are a great guest, and we'll have him back.
We
Well, thank
certainly
you
will.
very
Very
much,
soon,
both
very
of
soon.
you.
And the
You've been
distinguished gray hair, I have a little, skin in the game.
I
when
got a
say-
problem with both of you. You make my hair look like a pompadour.
wonderful. Oh, no.
Eric Haft,
Thank you.
comedian, thank you so much for coming on. Jackie, the joke man, Martling, sharing memories of Ozzie and Harriet.
Peter doing history for the girls.
That's right.
Ricky
I went
Nelson.
into history to meet girls. I did.
That's so sad.
I know it is.
so
I
sad.
really find librarians very sexy when they take down their hair. See you next time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.